disorder. So now we are going to see schizophrenic disorder. In this, we are going to see definition, epidemiology, etiology, psychopathology, clinical features, clinical types, course and prognosis, diagnosis, treatment modalities, and nursing management. So these many things we are going to see in schizophrenic disorder. First definition we can see. In definition, schizophrenia is a psychotic condition characterized by disturbance in thinking, emotion, volition, and faculties in the presence of clear consciousness, which usually leads to social withdrawal. So disturbance in thinking means the person is not able to think like normal persons. He may think he's thinking he cannot coordinate the think he thinks somebody has taken his thinking, or somebody is putting thinking on him. So like that differently abnormally he will think. So that is disturbances in thinking. Then emotional disturbance, he cannot control his emotions. He may get aggressive or inappropriate happiness, inappropriate sad. That problems will be there. In volition, it is a willpower. The persons will not have willpower. The psychiatric patients will not have willpower. So he will not do anything uh, uh, with willpower. Then faculties means it is mental and physical power that also will be very poor uh, or over. In this volition and faculties disturbances, it means it may be very poor or it may be high. That's the problem. So disturbances in the thinking, emotion, volition, and faculties in the presence of clear consciousness. The presence of clear consciousness, because he used to talk with everyone, he will stand, walk, everything he will do. So in the presence of clear consciousness, he will have these disturbances will be there, which usually leads to social withdrawal. That makes him away from the society. It means he is not properly talk with anybody. The people, he will not cooperate with the family. So that and all is otherwise called social withdrawal. So this is the definitions. Next we can see epidemiology. Epidemiology tells most of the cases in most of the psychiatric patients are schizophrenic patients. In this here you can see the schizophrenia patients are more than other disorders. So in hospital 50% of the bed occupied by the schizophrenic patients. So that is epidemiology. And etiology. Etiology we can explain through four headings. One is biological theory, psychodynamic theory, vulnerability stress model, and social factors. In biological theory, you see biological theory, it tells about these biochemical changes in biochemicals. One is telling about increased dopamine leads to schizophrenia, and any changes in the neurotransmitters also causes schizophrenia. These two things we are seeing in biochemical theory. One is dopamine hypothesis. It says excessive dopamine causes schizophrenia, and any and other biochemical hypothesis tells any changes in neurotransmitters such as norepinephrine, serotonin, acetylcholine, gamma aminoglutamic acid, and neuroregulators such as prostaglandins, endorphins. Any changes in these causes schizophrenia. This is biochemical theories telling in biological theories. Another is neurostructural theory. Neurostructural theory, any changes in the brain. This is small brain leads to schizophrenia. Okay. Enlarged ventricles. This is normal. This is abnormal. Ventricle is more. Okay. It leads to schizophrenia. So these type of structural changes in the nervous system leads to schizophrenia. The genetic theory, from parents, children will get, from one generation to another generation it will spread. So that is genetic theory. In this, the more chances for identical twins. If one child have problem, the other child also, there is more probability to get the problem. So identical twins may get uh, genetical schizophrenic problem. And next is prenatal risk factors. Any complications during pregnancy or delivery or after delivery, it may affect the child, and the child in future may get the schizophrenic problem. Same like any maternal influenza, any infections, any viral infections, when the baby is inside the uterus, it may cause uh, it may affect the development of the child, and in future, it may cause the schizophrenia to that child. This is perinatal risk factors. So next, in another psychodynamic theory, how it tells about the cause of schizophrenia. Psychodynamic theory, two things here we can see. One is developmental theories, another one is family theories. So developmental theory, based on Freud's, we can explain. Freud's what he's telling, the peoples when they use defense mechanism abnormally, such as denial, regression, here is there regression, reaction formation. If they are using abnormally and going back to his earlier stage of psychosexual development, leads to schizophrenia. It means Freud developed five stages of psychosexual development. It means each development is having a particular period of time. After that, next stage will develop. But if the next stage is not developed, the person stuck in previous stage. Therefore, his development is not there. So that type of peoples easily will get the schizophrenia. And who is abnormal using defense mechanism continuously, they will get schizophrenia. It is in the sense, if the adult person, for simple matters, if he acts like child, crying or getting aggression like child, it shows he is going back to his previous stage of development, like oral stage. Okay, his age is 20 years. He is 0 to 1 year child, like he is acting. If he is acting like that, then it means he is going back to his previous stage of development. This leads to this type of persons may get schizophrenia because of his activities. And other persons who is having poor ego development, a poor fragile ego or weak ego, that persons also in future they will get schizophrenia. So these three is based on Sigmund Freud's. And what about family theory? Family theory tells the relationship between mother child. The parents, if they giving over care, the children in future may get schizophrenia. That's why written protection is must, but overprotection is a mistake. The parents should understand. Next is dysfunctional family. Like always quarreling, the quarreling happened in front of child between the parents leads to the child in future get the schizophrenia. That is dysfunctional family system. Double blind communication. In this, the child get double commands. Father is telling you go to ground and play, but mother is telling don't go to ground. Though both are strictly telling. So which is right, which is wrong, the child will get confused. So if it is happened in his daily life regularly, then future the child will get schizophrenia. Child may get schizophrenia. So this is our double blind communication. And next is vulnerability stress model. It is telling the biological factors plus the precipitating factors causes schizophrenia. Because vulnerability means risk. Who is having risk? Who is having more chance to get? Who is having more chance to get? The people who is having biological factors and precipitating factors. Biological factors already we studied neurotransmitter problem and genetic problem or neurostructure problem or anything if it already present with the person, and when the person having another stress in his lifetime, that time he may get schizophrenia. There is more chances to get schizophrenia if he is not properly handling that situation. So that's why more chances to get schizophrenia when biological factors combine with precipitating factors. That is said by vulnerability stress model. Next is social factor. High social mobility. There, there is more chance to get schizophrenia because there is more stress will be there, and very low social classes always get more stress because of economical problem and related other problems. That's why there is very low social class peoples may get schizophrenia. And stressful life events, this and all causes the schizophrenia. So these are the things is the causes for the schizophrenia. Next, psychopathology. Psychopathology, based on four scientists, first I am explaining here. Stransky said intrapsychic ataxia. It is the lack of coordination between emotion and thinking may leads to schizophrenia, according to Stransky. Bleuler said loosening in the association of ideas. When the person loses his ideas in the association, he loses association in his ideas, he may get schizophrenia. Then Burns thought he is telling insufficient and lowering of psychic activity is the symptoms of schizophrenia. And Maggie said both genetic predisposition towards inadequate ego development leads to schizophrenia. So these peoples indifferently they explained. Commonly we can say disturbances in thinking, volition, perception, emotion and catatonic symptoms leads to schizophrenia. Leads to brain dysfunction, improper balance of neurotransmitters that leads to schizophrenia. This is psychopathology. And clinical features symptoms we can explain in four ways the signs and symptoms. According to Bleuler, 4 A's, we explain signs and symptoms. And according to Snyder's first rank symptoms, we explain the signs and symptoms of clinical features and positive and negative symptoms of schizophrenia. In that way also we can study the signs and symptoms of schizophrenia or clinical features of schizophrenia. First we can see Bleuler's 4 A's. Bleuler's 4A means four things he said that is started with A. Affective started with A, autistic started with A, ambivalence and associative sub. Everything is started with A. So that's why it is telling Bleuler's 4A's. One is affective disturbance. It means inappropriate emotional abnormalities. You see here, this is bural function. In this person is laughing. So this is inappropriate signs and symptoms. Inappropriate behavior, emotion. It is called, this is one of the signs and symptoms of schizophrenia. And here, blunted or flattened affect. Whatever you say, he will not show any emotions. That condition is called blunted or flattened affect. This is also one of the cause of schizophrenia. So these two comes under affective disturbances. And autistic thinking, their thinking, his thinking is not related to others or to the environment. Actually, our thinking is working based on our stimulation from the environment. But these persons, based on the environment, their thinking formation will not be there. And also there is chance of preoccupation. Already they kept something in their mind regarding the environment. When they face the environment regarding that mind, they will react. You see, here this person already having in his mind that nurses are hurt them. Their psychotic nurses are hurt them. Somebody said it's, I think. That's why he is having in his mind. So when he saw the nurse and he running away from the nurse. But actually nurse, why she is coming? She is taking give to provide a care to check his health. But he is thinking they may tie my hands or legs because of his past experience. So that is preoccupied. So preoccupied, if it is abnormal, then it is the signs and symptom of schizophrenia. Okay. Next, that is autistic thinking. That is preoccupation is one of the autistic thinking. Next is ambivalence. Ambivalence, two things at the same time will be there in patient's mind. You see here the patient's mind, yes or no. He will not take any decision and he will stand in between and get confused. He is not able to take any decision. In this condition, it is called ambivalence. Next is associative looseness. That is, the patient, whatever thinking, there will be no association. For example, one question is asked to the patient, when will you come back? The patient is telling, I came to Delhi. So there is no relation. Still he is answering some other answers, Delhi is beautiful. And another answer he is giving, but the driver is not good at all and he was driving fast, I like driving. So there is no association. His answers you can see there is no association to the question asked to him. Okay, till the end he used to say something else, not the answer to the question. Okay, so this is called loosening of association. And next is Sennatus over. No, next now Sennatus first rank symptoms. Sennatus first rank symptom is telling thought echo. Thought echo means the patient feels whatever he is thinking, it sounds from the environment. He is thinking, what can I do? The same time, he feels that he is hearing the sound from the outside. So this is echo. Whatever he is thinking, that sounds from outside. He can hear that sound. And hallucinatory voices, that is hallucination, hallucinatory, like this. This is the patient. He feels somebody is talking to her. Actually, there is no one when there is no one around her. She heard the sound. So this condition is called hallucination. This is hallucinatory voices. And thought withdrawal, thought broadcasting, and thought insertion. When the patient feels his thought is inserted by somebody else and his thought is taken by somebody else, then it is called thought withdrawal. Or his thought is broadcasted in the environment. That is called thought broadcasting. If it is inserted, his thoughts are inserted, then it is called thought insertion, that felt by the patient. And the patient felt that thought is taken by somebody else from my mind, then it is thought withdrawal. And my thought, whatever thinking, it is happening in front of me, or it broadcasted in the television or radio, then if the patient feels like that, then it is called thought broadcasting. And delusional perception, there are different delusion we already seen in my previous videos. So that is persecutory delusion, delusion of reference, delusion of hypochondriacal delusion, delusion of grandeur, delusion of nihilistic delusion, delusion of infidelity, delusion of control, and visual delusion. So these things, these different types of delusions uh, also is the signs and symptoms of schizophrenia according to Snyder. And somatic passivity, it means somatic means body. Whatever happened is bodily problems. The patient feels it is caused by some external force. And made volition or act, made means made by others. The person's problem is made by others. The patient feels like that. The patient's activity, volition or activities reason is somebody made on him. He is not the person did that. And impulses, whatever the patient is doing without his mind control, that is made by somebody else, not by him. And feelings, patient's all feelings is made by somebody else, not by patient. If the patient feels like that, it is called made volition, made impulses, made feelings. This is what fully controlled by somebody else. Whatever the patient is doing is controlled by somebody else. Next is positive and negative symptoms of schizophrenia. This is positive symptoms will explain the patient is having schizophrenia. That is delusion, hallucination, excitement or agitation, hostility or aggressive behavior, suspiciousness, ideas, or possibility. These are positive symptoms mostly present in acute condition of the schizophrenic patients. And negative symptoms are in chronic condition, these pair problems will be there with the schizophrenic patients. That is affective flattening or blending. The patients will have no emotions. Then evolution, lack of initiative. The patient have lack of initiative in any his activities. Then attentional impairment, anhedonia and allergia. Allogia. So anhedonia means inability to experience the pleasure. You are telling to the patient that you paused. The patient will not show any happiness. So that is anhedonia. He cannot able to experience that happiness. Allogia, lack of speech output. Here he is not able to speak to the person. So this is negative symptoms of uh, this is negative symptom of schizophrenia. So next is based on group. Based on group in the sense, so based on group in the sense, based on thought, based on speech, based on cognitive function, like that group wise, we can explain the clinical features. But there is no different. Whatever we have studied in previous 4 years, standard as first rank symptoms, positive and negative symptoms. In that, whatever we studied that only will comes under that we have to write based on the categories. That's all. So clinical features we have studied by 4 ways. One is Bueller's 4 ways and standard first rank symptoms, positive and negative symptoms, and based on the groups. Based on the groups in the sense, based on thought, what are the signs and symptoms are there, based on speech, what are the signs and symptoms are there, and what are the based on the cognitive, what are the signs and symptoms are there, based on the perception, what are the signs and symptoms are there. So that already in previous video in mental status examination, all signs and symptoms are there. From that we can uh, understand how to group wise we can write the signs and symptoms of schizophrenia. Next is clinical types. There are 7 types of schizophrenia. That is, one is paranoid, another one is hebephrenic, catatonic, next is catatonic, then residual, undifferentiated, simple, post schizophrenic depression. This is the paranoid schizophrenia. Is the paranoid means it is delusional. The person have delusional problem. That is a predominant symptoms present. Based on that predominant symptoms, which is predominant symptom, based on that only these classifications are there. In paranoid, the predominant symptom is delusion. Different types of delusions will be there. Delusion of persecution, delusion of reference, delusion of jealousy, delusion of grandiosity. These type of delusions predominantly present with this schizophrenic patient. That's why we are classify that person into paranoid schizophrenia. Then along with that, hallucinatory voices will be there and some other features of abnormality also will be there. Paranoid schizophrenia has a good prognosis. Good prognosis means there is after treatment high chance of getting to normal. Then personality deterioration is minimal and most of these patients are productive and can lead a normal life. It means personality deterioration means his personality will not get affected. In normal time he may speak with normal as a normal person. Whenever he is getting doubt towards somebody, only with them he is having problems. So that is why written personality deterioration is very minimal. His personal normal personality, very minimal change will be there. And most of these patients are productive and can lead normal life. Productive means they will involve in the society and they can lead a normal life. And next is this is about paranoid schizophrenia. Next is clinic. This is severe stage of schizophrenia. Severe stage of schizophrenia. It has early and insidious onset and is often associated with poor premorbid personality. And it is often associated with poor premorbid personality. Premorbid personality means before the onset of disease, what are the habits he was having? Based on this epiphrenic this schizophrenia will arise. If he already his personality is very bad personality, it means he is not interested to talk with anybody, or he is very aggressive person, or he is very doubtful person. That type of peoples they may get mostly the epiphrenic schizophrenia. The essential features include more thought disorder, yes, incoherence, not clear thoughts, severe loosening of association, and that's why I said this is severe form of schizophrenia. Extreme social impairment, that is, he will not comply with the social lifestyle. The delusions and hallucinations are fragmentary and changeable. This is fragmentary, means here and there it will be appear and will go. So that is then other abnormal behaviors. Other abnormal behavior means senseless giggling and mirror gazing, grimacing. Senseless giggling means a slight type of laughing unwantedly. Continuously the patient will do. That is senseless giggling. And mirror gazing, always he used to see the mirror continuously. Okay, that time it is called mirror gazing. And grimacing, grimacing means abnormal facial expressions. Abnormal facial expression is called grimacing. Very dirty expressions. And mannerism, this type of always holding like hands like this, always use your hands to comb the hairs and pinching the nose always repeatedly and scratching the chin repeatedly continuously. These are all called mannerisms. This type of abnormal mannerism also present with the patient. These are some other abnormal behaviors present for the epiphrenic type of schizophrenia. Next, recovery classically never occurs and it has one of the worst prognosis among all the subtypes. Already I said this is severe form of schizophrenia. Its prognosis is worst. It means very easily the patient will not come back to his normal, is not able to come back to his normal life. Okay, this is the worst prognosis in there. It is very severe form of schizophrenia. Catatonic schizophrenia. In this, the predominant problem is catatonic. It means, which as you can see, there is catatonic stupor, otherwise catatonic excitement. Catatonic excitement is its overactivity. Catatonic stupor is less activity. The patient, if you in this picture you can see, he is in very abnormal position. He is sitting in by very abnormal position. So this is called catatonic. If he is sitting like this, if nobody is uh, changing his position, then he will continue the same position for more than 6 hours, 10 hours. If anybody come and change, only he will change. Otherwise, he will not change. This is called catatonic stupor. It is another name in this stupor. It is waxy flexibility also we can say. Like wax, how we are giving position, that same it will be there. So like that, this person maintain the position, uh, maintain the position given by the nurse for long period of time. Okay, that is catatonic stupor or waxy flexibility. And if here the patient is standing, if the nurse is not changing his position, and he will stand the whole day or night, so that is the abnormal catatonic related abnormalities. Okay, so this is about catatonic schizophrenia is a marked disturbance of motor behavior. So this is called motor abnormalities. This may take the form of catatonic stupor, catatonic excitement. One is he will not do anything, otherwise he will overactive. He will show overactivity, or between sometimes overactivity, sometimes less activity. Catatonic alteration between excitement and stupor. So this is clinical types of catatonic schizophrenia. Next is residual. Residual schizophrenia means uh, still current time the patient may uh, not having uh, more type of signs and symptoms of schizophrenia, but in previously he had one or more uh, episodes of schizophrenia. That condition is called residual schizophrenia. Symptoms of residual schizophrenia include emotional blending, eccentric behavior, illogical thinking, social withdrawal, and loosening of associations. This category should be used when there has been at least one episode of schizophrenia, in the past of the patient's life, in the past, but without prominent psychotic symptoms at present. Without prominent psychotic symptoms at present. Okay, in that condition we are telling that is residual schizophrenia, but prominent symptoms now not present, only a simple symptoms, wandering tendency or sometimes getting angry, like that will be there. But if he is having any history of schizophrenia, then that this is residual schizophrenia. Okay, now once again, now he is not having large symptoms of more symptoms of schizophrenia. Okay, but in the past he had the history of schizophrenia, then that condition we are telling residual schizophrenia. Another one is undifferentiated. This is we cannot differentiate, we are not able to differentiate which type of schizophrenia is this. This category is diagnosed either when features of no subtypes are fully present or features of more than one subtypes are exhibited. It is having more than one subtypes of schizophrenia, otherwise even one schizophrenia type also not clearly present. In that condition, the doctors or nurses not able to diagnose which type. In that condition, we are telling undifferentiated schizophrenia. Next is simple schizophrenia. This is it characterized by an early and insidious onset, progressive course, and presence of characteristic negative symptoms, vague hypochondriacal features, wandering tendencies, and self-absorbed idleness and aimless activity. This, if it is present, that is simple schizophrenia. Their important is it differs from residual schizophrenia in that there never has been an episode with all the typical psychotic symptoms. All the episode with all the typical psychotic symptoms. It means in the past, if the person is not having any symptoms of schizophrenia, but now only he's started with schizophrenic symptoms. That condition, that simple schizophrenia. If it when it becomes serious and severe after that, then that time it called heavy phrenic schizophrenia. The prognosis is very poor. Then simple also prognosis is very poor. It may develop into heavy phrenic schizophrenia. And post schizophrenia depression. This is happened in the residual schizophrenia time. Otherwise, active features of schizophrenia. It means the schizophrenic patients may develop depression and in the presence of residual or active features of schizophrenia. Residual, I already explained. Residual means before that schizophrenia was there, but now it is not having any predominant symptoms of schizophrenia. Predominant means high level signs and symptoms is not there. Okay, in that condition it is residual schizophrenia. But with that residual schizophrenia, if he's developing, if the patient develops depression, then it is called post-schizophrenic depression. Okay, because of schizophrenia, depression developed. After schizophrenic episodes, depression developed. That's why we are telling post-schizophrenic depression. These peoples have increased risk of suicidal ideation. The next is catatonic over simple procedure. So this is about clinical types of schizophrenia. We have seen 7 types of schizophrenia. One is paranoid, hebephrenic, catatonic, residual, undifferentiated, simple, forced schizophrenia, depression. In paranoid, the people have delusional ideas. Then it is called paranoid schizophrenia. The predominant problem is the paranoid. It means the patient have only delusion. We cannot say like that. Delusion will be there, hallucinations will be there, and others thought disturbance, emotional disturbance, everything will be there. But the high level of the predominant level of symptom is paranoid. So what is predominant? Based on that, they are getting these disorder names. So that is paranoid. In heavy phrenic, that is severe stage of paranoid disorder. In this thinking abnormality and giggling, grimacing, then wandering tendency, this and all highly present. That is called heavy phrenic disorder. Catatonic, the predominant symptom, it also having some all whatever we discussed earlier in paranoid that will be there in catatonic also, maybe there. But predominant is motor dysfunctions. Motor dysfunction means the patient's not a one overactive will show, otherwise he will mute will show. Mute means less activity will show, less motor activity will show. That is catatonic. And residual means currently the patient may not have the predominant symptoms of schizophrenia, but in the past he had the history of schizophrenia. So that's why currently when he show a little bit schizophrenia symptoms, we can consider it as residual schizophrenia. In undifferentiated, when we cannot able to say which type of schizophrenia, that time it is called undifferentiated. And simple schizophrenia, it is first time when the patient develops signs and symptoms of schizophrenia. That kind of time we are used to say that is simple schizophrenia. And post schizophrenic depression. So after schizophrenic episodes, the person if develops depression, that time we used to say that is post schizophrenic depressions. So this is about the clinical types of schizophrenia. Next is course and prognosis. Course and prognosis. Several studies found that 5 to 10 years of after the first psychotic aspiration of schizophrenia, only about 10 patients can be described as having a good outcome. More than 50% of patients have a poor outcome with repeated hospitalization. So this is course and prognosis. Only this uh, delusional type of schizophrenia is having the prognosis is far most good than other types of schizophrenia. Okay, that is course and prognosis is poor in that schizophrenia conditions. And next is diagnosis. Diagnosis, we can diagnose this through mental status examination, because through mental status examination we can find all groups of signs and symptoms and its condition in that particular patient. Okay, psychiatric history collection and careful clinical observation form the basis of diagnostic of schizophrenia. Rule out physical disorders, substance-induced psychosis, and primary mood disorder with psychotic features. This is we have to rule out. Ruled out means whether the patient having any physical disorders. Because of that, if it arises, then we will not use to say schizophrenia. It may be some other name will be there, like organic, like that another name will be there. So that's why we have to find whether the schizophrenic symptoms is happen due to physical disorder or any substance induced disorder or any other mood disorder. If it happened, if it not, that we have to find. Then only we can decide there is schizophrenia. If it is there, if the schizophrenia symptoms there with because of any physical disorders, we used to say that it is organic psychosis. We used to say, and substance use, because of substance use, if he gets schizophrenia, then we used to say some another name, that is substance use organic disorder. So like that another names are there. So that's why we have to find first whether it is the schizophrenia symptoms is caused by any physical disorder or any other causes. If not, we can decide this is schizophrenia. Then official diagnosis is based on ICD-10 criteria. This is the ICD-10 criteria already we have discussed in previous videos. You can go and see that. This ICD, based on ICD-10, they have given certain criteria that shows the sign, that shows the confirmation of schizophrenia. So based on that, we can confirm that schizophrenia is present or not. So these are the diagnosing methods. And next is we can go see the treatment modalities. So treatment modalities, pharmacotherapy is there, electroconvulsive therapy is there, psychological therapy, psychosocial rehabilitation. Pharmacotherapy is the medicines we use to reduce schizophrenia, and electroconvulsive therapy, this is current method. We are passing the current and stimulating the brain. So electroconvulsive therapy. And psychological therapies and psychosocial rehabilitation. Psychological therapy means group therapy, individual therapy, family therapy, like that different type of psychological therapies are there. That which is needed, you can use to that patient, and we can reduce the problem of the patient. First we can see pharmacotherapy. Pharmacotherapy, antipsychotic drugs we are using, and antidepressants, mood stabilizers, benzodiazepines. The last three are, if needed, we can use. But actually, schizophrenia we use antipsychotic drugs. In antipsychotic drugs, two types of drugs are there. One is conventional antipsychotic, that is previously for long years before onwards we are using. But atypical antipsychotics, this is latest antipsychotic drugs. What is the difference between these two? The conventional antipsychotic drugs having more side effects, and atypical antipsychotics are not having that much side effect when we compare with conventional antipsychotics. And atypical antipsychotics also helpful to reduce so many signs and symptoms of schizophrenic patients. But conventional it not acts on most of the signs and symptoms of schizophrenia patient. So in conventional, and but in some cases we can use conventional psychotics. That's why conventional psychotics also we are using. In some cases, that is fluphenazine or haloperidol, these drugs we are using in some cases. And most of the patients are receiving atypical antipsychotic like clozapine because it is having less side effects. And antidepressant, if the patient develop depression, example just before we have seen post schizophrenic depression. In that condition, we can use antidepressants. Mood stabilizers, that for mania, if the patient with the schizophrenia having overactivity, that time we can use mood stabilizers. And if the patient is having anxiety, then we can use benzodiazepines. So these three are based on the signs and symptoms we have to use. This is for particularly for schizophrenic patients, antipsychotic drugs. So this is about pharmacotherapy. And next is electroconvulsive therapy. This is catatonic stupor. In catatonic schizophrenia, if it is in stupor condition, we can use ECT. ECT mostly used for depressive patients because it is having antidepressive effect. But in some cases, in severe manic conditions also we can use ECT. So catatonic stupor, it is like depression condition. So there is a first choice to use electroconvulsive therapy. Actually, this ECT, if there is no value or there is no effect with the pharmacotherapy and psychosocial therapy and other therapies, then only the doctor will decide to uh, take over the electroconvulsive therapy or to give electroconvulsive therapy decision. So it's the last chance to give the with electroconvulsive treatment to the patient. In that first preference is catatonic stupor patients, uncontrolled catatonic excitement, uncontrolled. I said is a over mania, over activity is there. That's why they are written uncontrolled catatonic patients, severe side effects with drugs. So when drugs are having severe side effects, it means one person taking antipsychotics for a long time. So he may get side effects. Then the doctor may decide is not able to continue the drug to the patient. So that time he may refer electroconvulsive therapy to that patient if it is possible to give to him. And schizophrenia refractory to all other forms of treatment. All other refractory means it is the schizophrenia is not the same thing. Severe side effects with drugs like that. Any other treatment also not supporting to that patient, then the patient can take into electroconvulsive therapy. Then usually how much ECT you will give? Usually 8 to 12 ECTs are needed to a patient. That also weekly. That also weekly 2 to 3 they will give. So this is about ECT treatment to the schizophrenic patient. Next is psychological therapies. Psychological therapies, group therapy and family therapy, social skill training. Social skill training means communication with others, uh, surviving in the society, how to maintain eye contacts, how to talk with others, how to fulfill the works. Regarding that, the social skill training is therapy is given, and behavior therapy, behavior to change the behavior of the patient. Abnormal behavior we have to change. Here, aggressive behavior we need to change. Okay, any anxiety, phobic, whatever behaviors are there, abnormal behaviors change it into normal behavior. For that, behavior therapy used to give, and cognitive therapy, the thinking way of thinking, the patient's way of thinking will change to normal way of thinking. Patient's abnormal way of thinking is changed to normal way of thinking. The psychological therapies over. Okay, next is psychosocial rehabilitation. This includes activity therapy. Psychosocial rehabilitation means activity therapy to develop the work habit, training in a new vocation or retraining in a previous skill, vocational guidance and independence job placement. For this purpose, the psychosocial rehabilitation treatment has been given. So this is about treatment. Next, nursing management. Nursing management, first one is nursing assessment. Nursing assessment, the same like we have to get the history collection through from the patient or from the relatives or family members who is available with the patient. From them we have to collect his history. Full data we have to collect. Then subjective data and ask the patient to explain his problems. That is subjective data. So whatever patient tells, we have to take them. Then objective data, on observation, the nurse has to find what are the problems or what are the behaviors the patient showing or exhibiting. That we have to understand. So that is nursing assessment part in nursing management. Next is nursing diagnosis. In nursing diagnosis, disturbed thought process is so many diagnoses based on the problem you have to write. Here few of them I have given. One is disturbed thought process because these are already in the definition we studied. This is a disturbance of thinking. So schizophrenia patients may have disturbed thought process related to what that we have to write. Then impaired health maintenance because they are having thought disturbance, emotional disturbance. Therefore, they will not worry about their health. So that's why if there is health issue, we can write impaired health maintenance. And self-care deficit. So we can say health maintenance not there, probably self-care also not there, will not be there. So we have to find if not there self-care deficit, then we can write that diagnosis. And potential for violence, Actually, these patients, already we studied catatonic patients will get violent, catatonic excitement if there. So that time the if violent behavior is there, then we have to write potential for violence. That may be self-directed or at others. The risk for self-inflicted or self-threatening injury. So violence if there, so there is risk for self-infliction also will be there. So it is understandable. Okay. So if self-inflicted is there, then we have to write that diagnosis also. Then disturbed sensory perception. Already in schizophrenia patient we studied in the signs and symptoms there is hallucination problems will be there, delusions will be there. So sensory perception, disturbed sensory perception, auditory is related to what we have to write. So this diagnosis also we can write if this answer center is there with the patient. And social isolation related to this withdrawal. So already in definition we studied this in the clear consciousness. It means the peoples have lead these peoples this problem leads to social withdrawal. In definition we studied. So see that there will be more chance of social isolation. So if there we can write this diagnosis. And impaired verbal communication. The patient verbal communication impaired because thought disturbed, emotional disturbed. So our communication will also be disturbed. There is more chances are there. So if there we can write impaired verbal communication. Then ineffective family coping. So family problems will be there because of his thought abnormality. Surely problem will be there, especially in a delusional type of schizophrenia. Paranoid schizophrenia. The paranoid schizophrenia, the family problems will be there. So ineffective family coping we can write if there. So these are the general nursing diagnosis commonly written for schizophrenic patients. Okay. So next is uh, so diagnosis is over. Next is nursing interventions. So nursing interventions, if the patient having delusional problem is be there and improper health, improper self-care, violent, prevent self-harm, hallucinatory, withdrawal behavior, impaired verbal communication, improve family coping. So whatever diagnosis we written, based on that interventions we have to write. If the patient is having delusional behavior, then for them what we have to, as a nurse, what we have to do, assess the content of delusion, what delusion he is telling, whether it is persecutory delusion or reference delusion or grandiosity, delusion of poverty, what type will be there, that we have to that we have to find the content of delusion we have to ask and record it. Initially clarify meanings of, for example, who do you think is trying to hurt you? If the patient is telling delusion of preference, then we have to ask who do you think is trying to hurt you? Assess the intensity and frequency and duration of delusion. The intensity, frequency, and duration of delusion we have to assess. Assess the context and environmental triggers for the delusional experience, where it is happening, everything we have to write. Approach the patient with calmness, empathy, and gentle eye contact. That is important because already he is having false belief. So we have to maintain the calmness, empathy, and gentle eye contact that will not stimulate him abnormally. And misinterpretations of patients are clarified, arguments are avoided. Carefully monitoring is needed if the delusions lead patient to harm themselves or others. That's why careful monitoring. This careful monitoring, we can take the patient very near to nurse's station. So these types will help to give continuous care to the patient and discourage long discussions about the irrational thinking. So instead talk about real events and real people. Only whatever we need, that only we have to talk, and encourage patient to express feelings as much as possible. Encourage the patient to express his feelings, then only the patient ventilate his full feelings to the patient, nurse. So next is if he is having improper health, to nursing intervention to improper health. So nursing intervention to improve health. So how we can improve the health? We can improve the health, assess the malnutrition and dehydration we have to find, because these people are not giving important to take food, and monitor food and fluid intake, provide less stimulating environment, and administer sedation if needed. If he is not sleeping, then we have to give sedation. If the patient is suspicious, this is a paranoid schizophrenia patients may have suspicious. So if the patient is having suspicious, allow the patient to open the sealed medication packed, because he's having such, we may think the nurse is trying to kill me. So that's why sealed pack we have to give. Then him, so we have to tell, um, to open the medicine by him, but carefully. uh, Only one sealed pack we can give. If we give more packs, sometimes together he may take inside his mouth. So that not very carefully we have to handle. So monitor the patient's elimination pattern we have to see. If any constipation is there, for that what is needed, that medications we can administer. So this is to improve the health of the patient. Next is to improve self-care activities. We can give assess patient's ability we have to find first, and provide assistance if needed, and encourage the patient to work independently, and praise the patient's all activities, all good activities, then only he will do again and again. That if you are not praising or motivating, he will not do again. Allow the patient enough time to complete any task. We have to give enough time to complete task. If you are forcing him or getting angry on him, sometimes he will not do that work. Gradually withdraw assistance. That is important point. When we provide assistance, we will that assistant that we are providing assistance to make his task to complete. So if you are continuously, if you are giving assistance, that habit will develop to the patient. He always expect assistance. To avoid that, gradually we have to withdraw the assistance. That is very important. Next is, because we have to develop independence. Next, if the patient is having violent behavior, then we have to maintain low level stimulation, because anything, any sounds or any person's voice, it may stimulate him to get aggressive. So maintain low level stimulation, observe patient's behavior frequently, remove all dangerous objects from the patient's environment, do not use physical restraints or techniques without sufficient reason, because it may hurt the patient. Talk with patient in a low, calm voice and polite voice we have to use. Administer tranquilizers as prescribed. If it is for highly violent and he is not controlling his behavior, then we can administer tranquilizers as prescribed by doctor. Next is, if the patient to prevent self-harm, uh, we have to do, then we have to find the nature and severity of hallucinations, because the self-harming patients usually have the hallucination problem. They may hear the voice that tells to kill himself or to kill others. That's why the patient reacted to the voice. So that's why what problem hallucination is there, that we have to find. Based on that we have to react, and create the safe environment for the patient, because safe environment means we have to remove any sharp particles from this environment, or the switchboard should be very high than normally we are using, and the ropes and all should not place there nearby, near to the patient, because that things the patient may use for self-killing. So that's why safe environment we have to give, and we can ask to the patient if he has have you any we can ask the patient to know whether he has any ideas of suicide. If anything is there, we have to understand, we have to react to the patient. Keep the patient near the nurse's station. That will help to continuous monitoring to the patient, and it will prevent the patient to get self killing or killing any other. Do not allow the patient to put the bolt on his side of the door or bathroom or toilet, because it is very difficult when if the patient stuck inside the bathroom. So inside bathroom should not be any locks. Should not be any locks. Only outside we can lock, and we can open easily. So that is another important thing. Next is uh, to hallucinatory behavior, to prevent hallucinatory behavior. First we have to find the hallucination, what type of hallucination, who is talking or what he is telling, that type, what is the content of hallucination. These things we have to understand. And when the patient, when they feel hallucination, we have to give training to the patient. When the hallucination comes, what he has to do, he can calm down, otherwise he can say something to the voice, go away, like that. Then humming sound, whistling, he can do whistling. If anything, by doing these type of actions, the patient may reduce the effect of hallucination. So for that we have to give training to the patient. So this is the, if the patient has hallucination. Then withdrawal behavior. Withdrawal means the patient going away from the communication or away from the society. Separately, you will go. So to avoid that, it may leads increased. It may causes increase the patient's condition, abnormal condition. So that's why make the patient to mingle with others in safe environment and make the patient to understand others and give some recognition, positive reinforcement. When they communicate with others, we have to give positive reinforcement. That will help him to continuously, without anybody assistant, he will try to communicate with others. So this is when the patient have withdrawal behavior. And another one is when the patient have impaired verbal communication, we can attempt to decode impaired verbal communication. So impaired verbal communication, we can interfere is it what you mean? I don't understand what you mean by that. So like that we have to ask. Then only he communicate again. He will try to say it perfectly. So we have to improve his communication. So that is very important. Otherwise, we cannot communicate with him. So facilitate trust for that first. Then maintaining staff assignments constantly. It means one nurse or two nurse only we can assign to the patient. Morning nurse, night another nurse. Because 24 hours we cannot put same nurse. So that is assigning is should be constantly will be there. Then only he will get trust with one nurse and he will tell everything to him. So that is helpful for the treatment. Then anticipate and fulfill patient needs until functional communication pattern returns. So these are the uh, asking verbal impaired verbal communication is there. We have to do. Next, improper family coping is there. Means family coping. The family treatment is very important. First, we have to make the family to understand about the patient's condition. So identify role of the patient in the family and how it is affected by the illness. That we have to identify. Provide information to the family about the patient's illness and treatment regimen, long everything we have to inform to the patient, and practice with family members how to respond to bizarre behavior and communication patterns and when the patient becomes violent. So these are the things we have to take care and we have to explain to the family members, because family problems is the most common cause of relapse of the psychiatric problem. So this is very important. So these are the nursing management. The nursing implementation. What are the things now we have seen? Everything properly in correct time we have to implement based on the situation. Wherever we needed, we have to implement. Then we have to evaluation. We have to evaluate whether there is any positive result. If there is no positive result, then we have to make another nursing interventions and we have to implement and we have to take. So evaluation is important to find and to find the condition of the patient problem and the progress of the patient problem and to make plan for new problems to make new interventions. So this is what nursing management. So everything we have seen. So we have seen definition, epidemiology, etiology, psychopathology, clinical feature, clinical types, cause and prognosis, diagnosis, treatment modalities, and nursing management. Thanks.